Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening. We're going to get started now. Thank you all for coming. My name is Matt Johnson. I'm a capital projects manager with the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, and I'm the project manager for this project. And my contact information is up here on the screen. Don't worry, it will appear again at the end of the presentation, and also if you've been to the website, you've got it there. This evening, we're here to talk about the 13th Street Burlington Avenue Separated Bike Lanes project. We have a couple people in the room. From Montgomery County DOT, we have Michael Mitchell in the back, and from our consulting firm Stantec, we have Lori Adgate and Dave Merrihew in the back. I don't think we have any elected officials or anyone else. So do we? Okay. Let's go ahead and get started then. It's going to be a relatively quick presentation, but we will have time for you to talk to us one-on-one, and we have the displays that are up here in the front and one in the back as well. And so we'll just jump right into things. There will be time for questions and comments at the end. The goal of this meeting is to introduce you to the initial design concept for the 13th Street Burlington Avenue separated bike lanes, and also to get your feedback about the proposed treatments along the corridor. So some background about the project. You can see here, relative to downtown Silver Spring, we have the 13th Street Burlington Avenue project shown in orange here toward the bottom of the screen. But this is part of a larger network in Silver Spring that's being constructed and is also in different stages of development. So if you look at the network of Silver Spring, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the parts of the network that have been built recently. All these solid lines on the map are facilities, bike facilities that have been built over the past few years. In orange are separated bike lanes, in blue are conventional bike lanes, and in green are shared use paths, which are shared between bicyclists and pedestrians. I will note down here at the very bottom of the screen is the Metropolitan Branch Trail. This trail will eventually go all the way from Silver Spring Transit Center to Union Station in Washington, D.C. The section between King Street and the D.C. line has been constructed already. The section from Fort Totten to Union Station in D.C. has also been constructed. And DDOT is actively working to complete the section between Fort Totten and the DC line. So in the very near future, you'll be able to bike from Silver Spring to Union Station on a separated trail where you don't have to mix with traffic. It's also being constructed between King Street and Silver Spring Metro currently, so that's what we see here. So we have the projects that are under construction right now. The Metropolitan Branch Trail being extended from Burlington Avenue up to the Silver Spring Transit Center is under construction. And the Capitol Crescent Trail from Silver Spring to Bethesda is also under construction as part of the Purple Line project. The trail from Bethesda to Georgetown is open and has been open for quite some time now, but the section from Silver Spring to Bethesda is being built. We also have the section of the Silver Spring Green Trail here under construction along Wayne Avenue between the Whole Foods parking lot and the Sligo Creek Trail that's being built as part of the Purple Line project as well. So the network is starting to grow. And in development, in design, we have many other projects. So one of those is Fenton Street, the Fenton Street Cycle Track project, which goes from Cameron Street down to King Street, is in final design. We expect to start construction about this time next year. We also have the East Silver Spring Neighborhood Greenway, shown in purple here, running along Woodbury Drive, Sligo Avenue, Grove Street, Bonifant Street, Cedar Street, and Houston Street. This has passed 30% design, is currently in 65% design, and we expect to start construction potentially on some elements of that next year as well. And I'm sure some of you in the room have been to meetings for these various projects, but these are all part of a larger network that's being built. So I got one comment by email before this meeting saying, why are we building this project? It doesn't connect to anything. Well, you're right. If this bike lane was open today, it really wouldn't connect to much, although it would connect to the Metropolitan Branch Trail. But we have to look at this in the context of the larger network that's being built. And one of the reasons that Burlington Avenue is such a critical piece of the network is it's very difficult to connect South Silver Spring to the rest of downtown Silver Spring because of the CSX and Metro corridor. There are only 4 crossings in downtown Silver Spring: Burlington Avenue, Georgia Avenue, Colesville Road, and Spring Street, although Spring Street is currently closed for Purple Line construction. Of course, Georgia Avenue and Colesville Road are very busy. It would be very difficult to add bike lanes to those roads. At Burlington Avenue, the bridge actually is wide enough to accommodate separated bike lanes today without taking away anything from traffic, but the approaches do need some work. So that's why Burlington Avenue is one of the critical pieces, because it connects South Silver Spring over a relatively low-stress connection to Fenton Street, which will connect you to the rest of downtown Silver Spring and also to Tacoma Park and downtown Washington. I'm just going to kind of walk through, and we'll get a zoomed in view of this as well, but this is the 13th Street section between Eastern Avenue, which is the DC border, and Georgia Avenue. And then the next, this shows the sections here, the existing section where we have very wide parking lanes, which contribute to speeding. And then the proposed section where we're adding separated bike lanes with a concrete median between the travel lanes and the bike lane, and we'll still retain parking on the north side of the street, but remove parking on the south side of the street. And then on Burlington Avenue between Georgia Avenue and Fenton Street, we have some limited widening down here for the bike lanes close to Georgia Avenue. The bridge is able to accommodate the bike lanes, as I mentioned before. And then the Fenton Street intersection, you can see this in blue here is our elements that are being built as part of the Fenton Street project. So it was designed with this project in mind, so we don't have to reconstruct anything that's about to be built. And it will tie perfectly into this. There's also a small section of the Metropolitan Branch Trail here shown in this dark gray color. That will run along the north side of Burlington Avenue between Sealam Road and Fenton Street. This will be the connection for the Metropolitan Branch Trail since the council deferred funding for the tunnel underneath Maryland 410. And this shows those sections. We are doing some widening in a couple areas, mainly to accommodate the shared use path for the Metropolitan Branch Trail east of Sealam Road. And then just zoomed in a little bit more, and again, these are actually just screenshots of the map, which is available on the project webpage and also in the back of the room. But this shows Eastern Avenue. Just want to point out that Eastern Avenue in its entirety belongs to DC, including the sidewalks on the Silver Spring side. Everything is in DC. So our project stops at the DC line. It does not impact the intersection at all, although we are in conversations with DDOT, so they're aware of this project. DDOT being the District Department of Transportation, our counterparts in DC. You can see we're having some islands here to improve sight distance and reduce turning radii into these parking bays to help protect bicyclists, concrete medians between the bikeways and the roadways. As we move down to Kennett Street, we're looking at potentially adding a hawk signal here for which is a signal that would turn red when pedestrians push a button so that they can cross 13th Street. This is a floating bus stop or a bus boarding island to allow transit patrons to wait for the bus here and allow the bike lane to be unobstructed. Not only when the bus pulls up, but also whenever we have urban areas, access to the curb is very valuable. And people will, if you have a bus pull out, people will park their cars in there for just quote unquote, just for a minute, which means when the bus arrives, the bus can't get to the curb. So if you're in a wheelchair, for example, you aren't able to board the bus because the bus can't deploy its wheelchair ramp. So floating bus stops help in that situation as well because they don't give a place for drivers to think they can pull off and be out of the way of cars without considering the needs of transit users and bicyclists. At the intersection with Georgia Avenue, we are proposing protected corner islands on the south side of the intersection. We really don't have room, unfortunately, on the north side of the intersection for that. We're still evaluating what the signal timing is going to be here, but we do anticipate that this north leg bike crossing will be protected from right turns, so that the right turn arrow would be red whenever the bikes are allowed to cross over here. But we haven't fully worked out what that timing is going to look like, so that's something to stay tuned for as we move forward. As I mentioned, the bridge is already wide enough to accommodate the separated bike lanes, so we don't have to do any work on the bridge other than adding the concrete islands. And then we are adding the Metropolitan Branch Trail here along the north side of Burlington. And then, as I've already mentioned, tying in seamlessly to the Fenton Street project, which is shown in blue. And this graphic also shows the Fenton Street design, which is not part of this project. That's already been designed, and I believe we have a map of this somewhere in the room. Yeah, Lori? Okay, there's one in the back of the room. The Fenton 14 project, as I already mentioned, is at final design, and we anticipate starting construction in the fall of 2025, so about a year from now. In terms of next steps, we're going to take your feedback from tonight and from any of the emails you've already sent or that you will send after this meeting or comment cards you fill out and work to revise the plans based on that feedback. We will be having a mandatory referral public hearing before the Montgomery County Planning Board sometime in the spring of 2025. We expect to complete design by the end of next year, and construction will follow likely in either 2026 or 2027, depending on financial capacity in those fiscal years. And with that, we're going to move to public comment. I would just ask everyone to please be respectful of the other attendees and give others a chance to speak by keeping your comments concise. I do want to note that we are recording the meeting over here, and this will be posted to YouTube within a couple days. So if you speak, your voice or likeness may appear on the recordings. If you don't wish that to be the case, don't speak during the public comment period, but come and talk to us one-on-one after the presentation. Also, because we don't always get your audio doesn't. I have a little thing here that transmits audio to the phone. I don't know how well it's picking up the audio from the microphone, so I'm going to repeat questions and I'm going to try and summarize comments that they're on the recording. But please don't give a long paragraphs and paragraphs of comments, because we're not going to. If it doesn't get captured on that phone, we're not going to know what you said, in 2 weeks. So if you have a really long comment, please give it to us in writing after the meeting, or talk to us one-on-one. But if you have a comment you want to make during the comment period, just try and keep it short so we can make sure that as much of it as possible gets on the recording, because I'll have to summarize it. So if you go for a long time, I'm going to probably forget some of the things that you've said. So anything that you want to talk to us about 13th Street is fair game, or Burlington Avenue is fair game, but specifics are really helpful to us. If you say, oh, well, there's a driveway that you didn't think about, or this corner is really hard to navigate, or I have a hard time crossing the street at this location, those are really helpful comments for us to know. So if you have specifics, that's really great. So with that, we're going to get into public comment. We would love for you to submit comments in writing, either on the comment cards, by mail, or by email. Email is preferred. Please get those to us by Friday, December the 6th, which is like 2.5 weeks from now. We'll look forward to hearing those comments. So if you have a question or comment, raise your hand, and Lori's going to bring you this microphone, and then she's going to have to bring it back to me so I can respond. So who's got I see over here in the black shirt.
Should have worn some tennis shoes.
Thanks.
So first of all, great project, build it. But my specific question is, so this project goes past a lot of auto repair shops, parking, kind of auto uses in front of buildings. Are there any provisions being made to make sure that those cars don't park either in bike lanes, on sidewalks, on that little stretch of the MBT, et cetera?
Thank you. That comment, I think everyone in the room heard it, but just for the camera, that the comment was that we're in front of the auto repair shops on Burlington Avenue. Are we going to do anything to prevent vehicles from being parked on the trail? We certainly want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I think we haven't quite gotten to that level of design yet. So we'll definitely look at that. We do have some other situations, like in Rockville, well, in the county, and not quote unquote, not capital Rockville, but in the county portion, the unincorporated Montgomery County near Rockville, where we have a shared use path in a similar situation, people park on the path. So you're right that that's a concern, and we will look into that. Any other questions or comments? Right here.
We're also very much in support of this project, but this intersection in general is just very unsafe. Whether you're a car trying to turn left or right, you're trying to bike straight or make a turn, or you're just trying to make it in time for we're two pretty correct walking, able-bodied people, and sometimes we struggle to get all the way across. Are there going to be any other provisions that make this intersection safer, just so that way people are actually incentivized to use the bike lane? And also, the only thing I wanted to point out, right, akin to the floating bus lane in front of the Galaxy Apartments, I don't know if you have it listed, but that's also a school bus drop-off and pickup. So I don't know if I can't really read this very well, but just wanted to point that out. Okay, that's it.
Yes, someone else made the same comment, that gentleman there.
Oh, okay,
Who
perfect.
put a post-it note on the display back.
Great. See all the kids.
Yeah, he said it's about 20 to 30 kids that stand there.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. Just again, for the camera, I'm going to reiterate those. The first was that this intersection, the five-way intersection with 13th Burlington, Georgia, and East-West Highway is not very pleasant for anyone, and perhaps unsafe for all users as well. We are, like I said, we're still working on the signal phasing, but we are adding things like these protected corner islands on the southern, southeastern, and southwestern corners to help reduce right turn speeds. We may investigate whether or not we have the ability to put in a left turn queue here that's kind of tight, so we can phase protect things. But the signal timing here is challenging. This is a state intersection, so we are sometimes limited in what we can do by what the state will approve. So we don't have full control of the intersection here. But we'll certainly look at that. The other comment was that there's a school bus stop in front of the Galaxy Apartments. That's helpful to know. This is exactly the kind of comment that we really value from these meetings, because it allows us to make adjustments. I will note that school bus routes sometimes change. They're not always consistent from year to year even. but we will work with MCPS on that. So thank you. Other comments, questions? And we are going to be around after in the back.
There's also a school bus stop across from the Orion, so you may want to consider that. And we need a left turn lane from 13th Street onto Georgia. I mean, I'm against the bike lanes, period, but that would make it a little more acceptable to me because that intersection is pretty dangerous.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. Just again to reiterate for the camera, that was there's another school bus stop in front of the Orion, and also a desire for a left turn lane for eastbound 13th Street onto northbound Georgia, and presumably East West Highway westbound. Any other? And we will look into that. Any other? Oh, over here.
Thank you very much for this project. It's really needed. I noticed on the map, on the cutaway you have, that the bike lane, the protected bike lane is only 6 feet wide. And I just wondered, how are you planning to keep it clean and like not have broken glass and things in it?
Thanks. That comment was the protected bike lane is only 6 feet wide, and there's a concern that debris will collect in the bike lane. That's certainly an issue that we are looking into countywide. The water will drain across the bike lane to the existing storm drains. In most cases, that will help clear it to some degree, but the county is looking potentially at investing into into smaller street sweeping equipment. We do have some, like we have the leaf vacuum truck. I think could probably get a lot of that out. It's got like a hose on a boom that's able to go across the median, so the bike lane median is not an obstacle for that, but a regular street sweeper won't fit in there. As we're building more bike facilities in the county, it becomes more economical for us to look into buying equipment specifically for these. So it's something that I think we're looking at continuously as we invest more in the bike network, but it's certainly a great comment. And I think I'll take one more right here, and then we'll let you do one-on-one comment. Actually, two more, because I see a hand in the back as well. So we'll do two more, and then we'll do one-on-one after that in the green shirt. And then, yeah.
Very excited about more bike infrastructure and this project. Very in favor of it in general. One specific question is about safety for folks using the bike lane from people in cars turning right on Spring Street, where there is a protected bike lane and some of those cement islands. We still are frequently almost right hooked by people because the overall angle is still quite generous and allows people to make right turns at speed. So curious how that's being taken into account here to increase safety.
Making sure Lori gets her steps in today. So the comment was, what are we doing to protect cyclists against right turns from vehicles across the bike lanes? And there was also commented on Spring Street. Were you referring to Spring Street and 2nd Avenue or Spring Street?
The Spring Street protected bike lane that goes approximately from...
Yeah, but is there a particular intersection you're concerned about?
There's a few. Maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah, so Spring Street, that was actually my first project at DOT. We built that back in 2016, 2017. We designed it in 2016, built it in 2017. So that was a very early project of ours, and we're a lot more adept at building better designs now. And so as I mentioned here at Georgia Avenue, we have protected intersections. This is still a pretty generous one. This one's less generous because of the median, and this purple area, this sort of lavender area here is a truck apron. So passenger cars are not going to want to ride up on that. And at Spring and 2nd, we actually do have the first protected intersection in the county. And it is very effective at least making drivers slow down, and it does improve yielding, at least for pedestrians. Cyclists are kind of coming at a different speed, so it may be harder for drivers to see them. So that's the intent of this design. Fenton and Burlington will also be a protected intersection. That's being built as part of the Fenton Street project and not part of this project. It'll already be in place. We're not planning any intersection treatments at Eastern Avenue because that's in DDOT territory, although if DDOT wants to come back and do something, we would certainly not be opposed to it. And then at Kennett, the floating bus stop here will help protect cyclists against this right turn. So we are trying to deal with it. It is challenging, especially this right turn movement, but we are planning to phase protect this right turn. So when cyclists have the signal to cross here, right turns would have a red arrow. Now, drivers do occasionally violate traffic signals, but we would hope that it would be safer that way than if it was a free right. Did I capture your comment? Yes?
Yes, I'll follow up one-on-one for more talk about street.
Perfect. And did you have a question in the back as well? Okay. In the wheelchair. Thanks.
Thank you. I regularly travel along Fenton and turn up 13th Street to cross the bridge to go home. And that is technically a pedestrian sidewalk, but there's an ever-changing selection of obstacles and things that often get changed and put in my way, forcing me to get completely off the sidewalk and go up 13th Avenue directly on the lane of traffic. I am not sure how I, as a wheelchair user, would be able to use this proposed bike travel area over the 13th Street Bridge and do that safely. How will this allow me to go over the hill and across the bridge and to get home safely?
Thank you for that comment. That was a comment / question about obstacles in the sidewalk, the existing sidewalk on Burlington Avenue and 13th Street for the bridge and their accessibility for people in wheelchairs. What I would say is that between Fenton and Sealam, we're proposing to build a 10-foot wide shared use path here. So I can't promise that people won't put things in it, but it will be a lot harder to block completely. Beyond Sealam, west of Sealam, the existing sidewalks will remain in place. In terms of using the bike lane is not designed for people in wheelchairs, but it would be wide. It would be as wide. It's going to be 6 feet wide, so it'll be wider than a lot of sidewalks in Montgomery County. It's not ADA compliant because in order for it to be ADA compliant, the cross slope has to be less than 2%. And for drainage purposes, our roads have a minimum cross slope of 2%. So it would have more cross slope sloped away from traffic. That's for drainage. So it's technically not ADA compliant, but there's nothing stopping a person in a wheelchair from riding in it. And in fact, I have seen someone riding in a wheelchair in the 2nd Avenue bike lanes quite often in Silver Spring. So I'm not sure if the sidewalk is maybe bumpier and the bike lane smoother. I'm not sure, but it is possible, but that's not what it's designed for. So with that, let me put my contact information back up on the screen. We'll leave this up. So we're going to just go back to the open house format. Again, if you're with DOT or the consultant, if you could raise your hand, talk to us. We all have name tags. We're happy to answer any questions you might have or take any comments. And again, we would really prefer that you have any really substantial comments that you put those in writing, because then we'll have a record of them, and it'll be a lot easier for us to record those. And you can also email those comments if you don't want to do them by hand right here in the room. Thank you again for your attendance. I know it's kind of a miserable day out there tonight, so we appreciate you deciding to come to a community meeting on a rainy night, and we hope to see you at future meetings about projects in this area, including this project. Thank you very much.